Illinois Governor JB Pritzker not mincing words, saying, quote, "Mr. President, do not come to Chicago. You are neither wanted here nor needed here." The Democratic governor was responding to President Trump, suggesting that he might send National Guards troops to Chicago, calling the city a, quote, "killing field." The Democratic governor says that there is no public emergency that would warrant the deployment of federal troops to the Windy City. Scripps News senior political correspondent Charles Benson joins us now from Chicago. And Charles, you were just on hand. It was interesting here in D.C. We saw the mayor speak out, was not nearly as forceful as we heard from the governor and the mayor. What was their message today?
Well, I think both are being very clear that any effort, any talk, any conversation coming out of the White House and President Trump to try to bring in the National Guard or bring in federal troops, they're just saying it's not needed, and they feel like it will be disruptive to do that. The biggest pushback, as you said, coming from Illinois' governor, JB Pritzker, and he got his biggest applause when he used that line, like, "Don't come, you're not wanted or you're not needed." In fact, they're saying this is not only unprecedented, they think it's un-American. Here's what the governor told this crowd just a few minutes ago.
Over the weekend, we learned from the media that Donald Trump has been planning for quite a while now to deploy armed military personnel to the streets of Chicago. This is exactly the type of overreach that our country's founders warned against. And it's the reason that they established a federal system with a separation of powers built on checks and balances. What President Trump is doing is unprecedented and unwarranted. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional. It is un-American.
And Governor Pritzker also saying that he believes this is politically motivated, saying what the president wants to do here is to only focus on blue cities or blue states, cities with Democratic mayors or Democratic governors. The mayor also here pushing back on any effort to help the city reduce crime, saying while progress is being made, yes, more work needs to be done, but he said the solution is not with the National Guard, the solution is with housing. And so part of the other narrative here, Andrew, was to hear from other state officials saying, if you want to have a conversation about federal help, we'll have that conversation around housing, around crime prevention, around other federal dollars that can be used here. But sending in the National Guard or using active military, they strongly are pushing back. In fact, they say if that happens, they will take legal action. Andrew?
And Charles, it's interesting, another similarity between what we heard from Chicago officials and here in D.C. is that crime is on a downward trend, according to them. How big of a problem is violent crime in Chicago right now?
Well, so if you talk about it in two different terms, yes, the trend, the newer numbers, these numbers compared to last year are moving down. In fact, in double digits, they talk about homicide down 30%, robberies down 35%, or overall shootings. The problem, others will say, critics will say, and why maybe more help is needed, is that's bringing it off some pretty high numbers. This is the third biggest city in the nation, and in terms of raw numbers and homicides in 23 and 24, they led the nation, not as a percentage of the population, but still big numbers. But the message here is that they believe they have a number of things in place that are working now to bring the numbers down, and so they feel any effort by bringing in extra extra National Guard or active military, that's not the message they want to send to the city of Chicago, to the neighborhoods, to the people who are living and working here. This coming, though, strong message from the Democratic governor as well as the Democratic U.S. senators from Illinois. Andrew?
Yeah, and Charles, it is interesting because you heard the governor talk about nonviolent resistance. And it is worth noting that this is not a done deal. This is something President Trump is still considering and has not decided to actually send any federal law enforcement officials to Chicago just yet. But what was the message from the governor, from the mayor, towards the residents of Chicago? And have you gotten a feeling yet from people on the ground there about how they would feel if the president were to actually send in, whether it be the National Guard or some other federalized authorities to help with policing there?
Yeah, you make a clear point here. No specific plan is in motion that will send anybody here by the president. And in fact, the governor and the mayor both making it very clear they have not had any conversations with the White House. And in fact, they are making no requests to the White House for additional or for it to have the National Guard here. Have not had a chance to talk to people in and around the city. We're in the bigger tourist area right in downtown Chicago along the Chicago River. Did read some comments around some folks who lean on the Republican side saying it would be welcome, that help is needed in this city. So once again, it falls within the political lens. A lot of people look at crime as not just how many people are on the ground, how many boots on the ground, how many law enforcement on the ground, but it's a broader conversation around housing. It's around opportunity in terms of jobs. It's around what they call these violence interrupters, people who can get into the community. So they see it as a bigger discussion, not just a conversation of having just more people here to address a city that they claim, the city leaders here believe, is improving at least this year. I think the mayor points out, he looks at just the month of April, saying it was the lowest number of homicides since the 1960s. So they're painting a better picture here, but are making it very clear that progress is being made, but much more work still needs to be done in this city. Because anytime you have 1, 2, 10, 20, anyone will tell you that is too many homicides, too many murders. Andrew?
All right. Senior political correspondent Charles Benson for us. Charles, thank you.